Okay. Call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, June 17th, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for that. Roll call, Amanda.
Shannon Derby,
Here.
Bill LeClaire,
Here.
Doug Brandt,
Here.
Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunas,
Here.
Scott Steckmeister,
Here.
Darla LeClaire, Admiral Husky is absent, and Mark Bittner is via phone.
Okay, and since Mark Bittner is on the phone, we'll do number 4 tonight. Consideration of any council member request to participate in this meeting from a remote location. As I said, Mark Bittner is on the phone remote today, so we just need a motion and a second to welcome him into the meeting. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill LeClaire,
Aye.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Darla LeClaire,
Aye.
all in favor.
Okay. On to number 5, public hearing. We have 2 this evening. The first one is public hearing on conditional use permit for a drive-through operation at Fast Taco at 3337 Mishicot Road in the B1 Business District, submitted by Armando Cruz, which is the tenant. The recommended action is a motion to approve the conditional use permit as recommended by the Plan Commission. Greg, any background on this?
This item you'll find at page 5 in your agenda packets. Pretty straightforward. There, of course, there was a previous drive-through operation at this location. Fast Taco, since their establishment there over a year ago, has not utilized the drive-through. So, but things are pretty much set up for the drive-through as indicated in the application and graphics. The conditions are pretty basic. It is issued to the current owner, GSD Petroleum, and will lapse on change in ownership or tenancy of the premises. Hours of operation during the regular business hours for Fast Taco. Signage in accord with the city sign code. So this does come with a recommendation for approval from the Plan Commission.
Excellent. Thank you, Greg. Since this is a public hearing, there will be 3 calls. For anyone wishing to address this topic and this topic alone. If you do wish to address the council, please step up to the podium on your left and state your name and address for the record. So I will open up the first call of this public hearing. Seeing no one, I'll close the first call and open up the second call. Seeing no one, I'll close the second and open up the third and final call. See nothing, I will close the third and final call and then look for a motion to approve the conditional use permit.
So moved.
Thank you, Darla. Second by? Thank you, Bill. Any discussion?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
This was already used as a drive-through for Taco Bell.
Yep.
Did that not have a conditional use permit at that time?
It would have at that time. I've not gone back to see. It may have had a condition that it likewise lapsed upon
Oh, okay.
the ownership changing. And likewise, my goodness, that operation ceased because the building sat vacant for quite a while. My best guesstimate would be in excess of 3 to 4 years. So it'd be necessary to get a new CU at that point.
Okay.
Any other discussion? See nothing, we will do a roll call vote. Amanda?
Bill LeClaire,
Aye.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Darla LeClaire,
Aye.
Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
all in favor.
Thank you. On to the next one, public hearing on ordinance to rezone 1706 16th Street, parcel 053-000-063-102.05 from industrial I2 to business B1, submitted by Quashis Construction Incorporated applicant and Jalapa Marketing LLC owner. The recommended action will be a motion to waive reading and adopt the ordinance as recommended by the Plan Commission. Any background, Greg?
Again, at page 9 in your agenda packet, you'll find the map with the proposed ordinance attached to it. This is the existing BP station and convenience store at 12th, I beg your pardon, at Madison and Monroe Streets, or 16th and Monroe, I'm sorry. I guess that would be the right address. Yeah, 16th and Monroe. Bunch of streets come together there. And I'd say that this is probably a precursor to some additional zoning requests that will be forthcoming. The owner has talked about some renovation of the station and the possible addition of a small restaurant space. Not what's in front of you tonight, but the rezoning to B or business zoning would be necessary before those added investments and changes would be possible. And again, this comes with a recommendation for approval from the Plan Commission. There's a fair amount of additional commercial or business zoning in that 16th Street corridor nearby.
Okay. Again, this is a public hearing, so I will make 3 calls. If anyone wishes to speak on this item, please step up to the podium on your left, state your name and address for the record. Opening up the first call on this public hearing. See nothing, I will close the first call and open up the second call. Closing second call, opening up third call. And seeing no one, I will close the third and final call and then looking for a motion. Thank you, Bill. Second by Darla. Or Mark. We'll do Mark. Any discussion?
I don't know how far back the industrial zoning goes. It's a good question. It's been a commercial corner for a long time, but of course it's adjacent to metalware immediately to the north, so maybe it got lumped in with that. From a land use standpoint, maybe there was a point in time where, you know, the expansion of the existing industries nearby was foreseen, but this industrial zoning's been on the books for a long time.
Okay, any other discussion?
Do we know if it's a 24-hour operation?
Again, at this point, it's simply a zoning change. I don't know. And actually, if the restaurant is not a drive-through, it won't require a conditional use permit. It would just be site and architectural plan approval by the Plan Commission. So I can't really speak to the proposed hours, Mark. I know the C-store is not currently 24/7. My understanding, it's not. I can't tell you what the hours are. But, yeah.
I have
Yeah, Connie.
a question. This is such a general thing of a zoning change, okay? I don't know exactly how to ask the question, because we had gotten some notice too of a zoning change on our street near you, not
Oh, yes.
tonight,
Yes.
but I mean, it's going to come up.
Yep.
What I'm trying to get at is, don't you usually put the description of what's going in there? I thought that normally that's what you did. Or did you not put the description for some of these because it takes its couple step process?
I think that's the case here, where at this point in time, there's nothing in front of us for a new land use. It's simply zoning the property.
Yeah.
Whereas in the case you're referencing on 14th Street, there is a specific use that requires a conditional use permit.
Yeah.
That's proposed.
I mean, I guess I just think it would be nice for people to know,
Yeah.
so they're not surprised.
But again, if it's zoned business and an additional use or a different use is put forward there that is a permitted use, there wouldn't be a hearing anyway.
Right.
But what this does mean is, you know, this site would be able to readily accommodate permitted uses in the B1 district, or with a conditional use permit, conditional uses in the B1. But here we're dealing with the most basic level, I guess, of land use regulation, that being the zoning of the parcel. So as far as what's in front of the council tonight, and I did reference, we understand the owner's got some plans. This would simply take an existing property, which is the location of a gas station convenience store, and frankly, put it at a more appropriate zoning for that type of use. It's not a gift, it's not really tied into a change in use. As I mentioned from our meetings with the owner, there may be the addition of a small restaurant. The other thing, I don't know if you were at the May Plan Commission meeting. I know you often attend them, but our city engineer did have some questions and concerns perhaps about parking and traffic flow through the site if that commercial activity is expanded. But in my discussions with him, he said, but that's not zoning. That's specific to the site plan review that would come later. If that makes sense.
Thanks.
Yep.
Anything else? Seeing nothing else, roll call, Amanda.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc, Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you. On to C, this is just a note for notice, public hearing on proposed zoning code amendment to create a new downtown and waterfront overlay zoning district was published for a hearing on this date. That hearing has been rescheduled to Monday, July 15th, 2024 at 6:00 PM.
Just by way of comment on that, a couple reasons for that. We, per our own ordinance, provide for mailings to property owners that are potentially impacted by a zoning change or a change in what's allowed in a given zoning district. I found out last Monday that we were just getting ready to mail those notices for a hearing tonight. 1 week doesn't necessarily get you first-class mail from the Two Rivers Post Office to an address in Two Rivers. So that seemed appropriate to put it off for that reason. Also, going with July 15 instead of July 1 would give the opportunity for this to go back to the Main Street Board for its advisory input. Again, this zoning overlay district as proposed would impact the roughly 120 properties in the business improvement district that is the same as the Main Street district. So that seems like a relevant group to have some input as well as any individual feedback. So that's a couple of reasons there. We want to make sure there's at least 2 weeks advance notice or advance mailing of a notice, not just a notice of the hearing, but a copy of the actual ordinance and the opportunity for Main Street, which discussed this ordinance at its June meeting, to get another kick at it in July and possibly take a position on it. I don't know, Mr. President, that we have anybody here tonight to comment on that ordinance. I was just going to suggest if anyone had shown up or if either of the two members of the public in the audience indicate they're here to speak to that, we could, create that record. But hopefully we'll have some folks here on the 15th of July. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. On to number 6, input from the public. If there's anyone here that wishes to address the council, please step up to the podium on your left and please state your name and address for the record.
I don't see a big rush, so I will take the podium. Thank you. My name is Mark Grams, 1908 Garfield Street in Two Rivers. What brought me here was the issue of Neshota Beach and dogs. I saw on Facebook, which everything is correct on Facebook, but this was from the Park and Rec Department, and it showed a map, and it showed that in this part of the map, which was from parking lot 1 to the Coast Guard station, you didn't have to have a leash. I was a little concerned about that because it sounded counter to what the ordinance says. So I did bring it up to Mike. I went to the Park and Rec and went to the counter where there's 2 employees. Actually, there were 3 employees there. They weren't sure what was correct. So actually I got to talk to Mike. Mike goes, well, I think that's what the ordinance says, and looked at it and said, no, that was my mistake. It's not, they're supposed to be on a leash. So I don't know, I haven't seen anything definitive that they put that out there, because you put the mistake out there first, then that's going to be gospel to most people. So I sure would like to see something definitive put out. But even better, I'd like to help the council, the police department, and the Park and Rec by just asking you the council to make the rules simple. Because right now, even an article in the Seahafer News, it was a reminder of Neshota Beach dog regulations. They spelled Neshota Beach wrong, but with the weather warming up, people have begun enjoying a day at Neshota Beach. For some, that includes taking time with their canine companions out for walks, as well as dogs aren't allowed everywhere along the cool city's Lake Michigan shoreline, which is true. Dogs are allowed on the beach east of the Twin Rivers outlet into the lake without a leash. However, leashes are required on the beach between the North Pier and the southernmost Neshota Beach parking lot. So dogs are allowed on the beach east of the Twin Rivers outlet into the lake. I don't even know what that is. I don't know if any of you know what that is or if the public, but it sure does sound confusing to me. It goes on, however, dogs are not allowed on the Neshota Beach, even with a leash between 10 a.m. and 11 p.m. Well, that's not true either, because there is a portion that they can go at all times, from parking lot number 1 all the way to the Coast Guard station.
It's before the parking lot, where that they can go with the dogs. In other words, they can't be out in front of the parking lot, the beach. It's towards the pier that they gotta be.
Good point, Bill, because that's another point of contention, right? I doubt if anybody's enforcing that people can't walk their dog on the beach walk, right? Was that the intent of the council, to not allow people to walk their dog on that cement beach walk? If it is, okay. But then you've got these signs that are down there, all these sandwich signs, and they say, dogs prohibited from parking lot to water after 10 a.m., May 1st to September 30th. Well, that means they can't walk their dogs on that sidewalk.
Correct.
Is that what you really want? You don't want people, is that something that's enforceable? That if somebody's walking their dog on the beach walk after that time, that they should be told that they're in violation of the ordinance? I think that's a little extreme. That's my opinion. I'm not a dog hater. I'm a dog lover. I got dog, my family's got dogs. My neighbors got dogs. So, but I'm trying to make it easy for everybody to understand. So when the ordinance does get enforced, it's clear to everybody, black and white, here's where you can have your dog. Here's where you cannot have your dog. And at all times in the city, it's got to have a 6-foot leash or less, except for Xander Park.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That statement about off leash, which was in that Facebook post, was incorrect. I guess, if I might, do you have a suggestion, Mark, on the area from the parking lots to the water? To me, that seems fairly clear. During beach season, whatever those months were, from up until 10 o'clock, you can have your dog on a leash on the beach or the beach walk.
Right.
But after 10 o'clock, it's prohibited on both.
I do have a suggestion.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be on, I think they should be allowed to go on the sidewalk, on the beach walk. Just make it that they can't be on the beach from parking lot 1 to parking lot 6, period. Can't be on the beach.
That's certainly something the council could consider.
And then from parking lot 1 to the Coast Guard station, there at all times, you can have your dog if it's on a leash. Simple.
I guess
But when you start going to these months and these times, you can do this. Who's going to have that? Who's going to have that knowledge? And it just seems convoluted to me. So I'd like to see it simplified, and make it easy for the council. If somebody were to ask you right now, where can you have the dogs? I don't know that everybody can answer that. Same thing, I would like to help it so the police department's not required to tell somebody they can't walk their dog on the sidewalk, because it seems like it's, I don't know that that's something that you really want to do.
I can only say that there was a thought process at the time, and that was the beach walk
Well,
was
I've also
installed there for the public to traverse. And there's a lot of people with little kids in tow, not just on the sand, but using the beach walk. And
My understanding is when I talked to the person that was advocating for that time frame on the beach, because this person is my neighbor.
oh, that person
I talked to her about it this morning, and her beef and why she pushed for this is because she thought, rightly so, that she couldn't walk her dog on the sidewalk. So that's why she wanted that change. If you change it so she can walk on the sidewalk anytime, then problem solved.
And people will be able to walk their dogs on the beach sidewalk at 3 p.m. when there's heavy beach. If that's the policy intent, that's cool.
That's my suggestion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
understood. We'd be happy to we could serve this up at the next work session for that matter.
Yeah, I know we talked about it briefly at the advisory rec board last week. A little bit about it, but it was something I think we were going to talk about again soon. Mike's not here tonight, so.
Quite honestly, there will never be enough police resources given, I'll say it for the chief, but you can, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. If you have people that choose to disregard whatever the regulations are, and we've all seen dogs frolicking off leash at the beach, where that fits on the priority scale for police enforcement, as egregious as it might be and as upsetting to people, it's not a priority compared to any number of other things that could be happening in town.
Okay, well, I thank you for addressing it. And just before I leave, one more thing, because I was reminded of it tonight. Because you're streamed, I listened to I watched on YouTube. When you're speaking, you have got to lean forward into the microphone. You cannot lean back in your chair and talk and think that you can hear it, because it goes, that's what you hear on the other end. And when you have people in the audience that have, oh, by the way, and then they start talking, if you don't stop them and bring them up to the microphone, we can't hear that either. So you either got to bring them up to the microphone or you have to repeat what they say. And sometimes it's a little lengthy. So thank you much.
Thank you.
Visions of Charlie Brown's Teacher, for those of you that remember the old Peanut special.
Can I make a comment? You can have dogs off the leash along Memorial Drive, correct? On that beach, or did that change?
I'd have to look. I can't
Okay.
quote right offhand.
I think they
think
do not
so.
need a leash.
I think that's.
Oh, I just double checking.
Yeah. Anyone else? Input from the public? Seeing no one else, on to number 7, council communications. Anyone have letters and other communications from citizens?
Mr. President, I do.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Speak, please.
Yep, go ahead.
Mark, I'll try to lean forward into the mic here and talk clearly. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm asking a series of questions, and perhaps someone from the staff who's responsible for this can give me a written answer, because I doubt he'll be able to answer it tonight. But a citizen contacted me recently about a private residential home fence requirement. And she wants to know if the city has a limit on the height of a fence, and I do believe we do. I believe it's 8 feet, and just confirm that's the case. And she wants to know what happens if there's a violation and the fence exceeds 8 feet. The second question regarding fences, she wanted to know if our community has any restrictions on the types of lighting that people can run across the top of their fence, and if we have any hours that they can have the lights operational. And the third part of the question is, we are gifted as a community to live on the waterfront, Lake Michigan and the two rivers. Is the high water mark on both the lake and the rivers, is that the limit that the landowner can run their fence to the water mark at the high level mark on their own property? Well, somebody could get back to me with those
Staff
three
will get
answers.
you
That'd be
responses to those
great.
questions.
Help the citizen out.
Yeah, I would just note offhand, typically the height restrictions on fences is 6 feet,
I was gonna say
not
it
8.
was 6.
So, and you know what? I would strongly point that person either to city code, which appears on the website, or send them to the zoning and inspections department. I mean, not saying directing it through a council member isn't appropriate, but those answers are readily available to the public, and we'd be happy to furnish them. The lighting on fences, I think that probably gets into a bigger issue, and you've heard from some constituents on this about any kind of light pollution standards or light regulation in the community, because right now your fence can be right on your property line, and I don't know of a prohibition, but unless the light really shines onto the neighbor's property. So I don't know if you're talking LED rope lights or just, or what, but,
It could get pretty bright and offensive, I think.
Yep.
If you ran it all the way along the fence line.
yes.
It'd be like walking down the streets of Las Vegas in the midnight. So, you know, I don't think it hurts to maybe just identify the orders, because they're not easy always to find, even though they're available. Great.
They are, yep, and I think there's an FAQ on fences out there, but, yep.
I'll expect the answer then. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to number 8, council reports from boards, commissions, and committees. Anyone have something to report?
I was on the library board. They were nominated for a Community Enhancement Award. We also heard about the summer reading programs that will be kicking off, the new dramatic play area. That is, a bear came along, and it's really a very cool display. If you haven't gone to see it yet, I definitely recommend checking it out. And we got a report about how Terry's book talks are doing at the schools that she attends. To give book talks to 57 new library cards. 21 out of the 22 National Honor Society students use the library. 146 books checked out by the 8th grade. So things are going well at the library.
Awesome. Good to hear. Anyone else? Go ahead, Darla.
Okay, thanks. For Main Street, you'll notice that the mural is still under construction. The weather's been kind of crummy, so hopefully it'll be done fairly soon. It's probably, about 80% done or so. And it's looking great. And we've got a lot of really, really positive comments on it, as has the building owner. He's thrilled with it. Just to let you know that we do have a ribbon cutting coming up on June 19th, so it's 2 days away, at Wildflower Outdoors, and that's at 1705 East Street. It's 4 o'clock for the ribbon cutting. And then on Thursday, June 20th, Meridian and Wellness and Awakened Lakeshore out at on Lincoln Avenue, 2221 Lincoln Avenue. It's got a lot of stuff going on. They're going to have an open house at noon. They're going to have free mini sessions from noon till 3 p.m. Call to schedule a time. Ribbon cuttings at 3. There's going to be a sound and Reiki. How do you pronounce it? Reiki. Okay, I got it right then. Sound and Reiki session at 6:30 p.m. and yoga at Nashotah Beach at 7:30 p.m. So they've really got a lot going on. And then on, I don't see the date on this. I will have to find out. But Lakeshore Rock and Gem here in the near future, they're at 2116 Washington Street. From 11 to 4 o'clock, they're going to have a local artist vendor fair. Pictures with Sasquatch with Serene Studios photography from noon till 3. They're going to have a scavenger hunt. They're going to have rock cutting with Planetary Lapidary, where people can bring in a rock they'd like us to cut open for them. And they have a paint a rock activity table for kids. So they're just going just all out downtown. And then, we're going to be talking about it later, but as far as sign and facade for Hook Lanes, but we'll talk about that later. And then for EAB, our web pages are up and running, thanks to Sue Riley in the engineering department and Dave Dassey, who's worked diligently on this and had to work with civics. it looks spectacular. You can go see it at www.2-rivers.org/EA board. And you'll be able to see what our mission statement is, our goals. It'll talk about the vegetable garden. We've started a video library. We have one video in there so far, and links to other like fairly local organizations like Friends of Mariners Trail, Woodland Dunes, and all. I think we have like 20 or so links that have to do with environment, and also links to kind of interesting articles that we've stumbled upon. So that's what's going on with us.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Scott, I just would like to point out, it's amazing what a great city we live in and all the activity that occurs. And I'd encourage any citizens who's interested. Another source would be Main Street. Jason Rink publishes a weekly newspaper that lists all the events, and you go through it. It's just awesome what we have to offer as a community to our citizens. And I encourage you, if you're interested, stop by or give them a call and ask to get on the mailing list.
Yep. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that goes on. I did have one from the Advisory Rec Board. Got to attend my first meeting of that after volunteering for it. And Mike and the rest of the board, Parks and Rec, they do an amazing job. Just kind of some of the things I learned just by attending the first meeting. In the notes for the last meeting, there is a update on the Riverside Park about redoing that park over on the south side. It's amazing what it could potentially look like coming up in the future. I know we just talked about it recently about maybe doing it in phases or something, but there's a lot of cool things that will be happening over in that park on the south side. And then also we went over the Parks and Open Space Plan, which kind of details all the parks for the city of Rivers. And that's amazing too, what Mike has done to put that together. So I did ask maybe in a future city manager report to kind of touch on that a little bit so we can kind of hear about what's going on in our parks, but a lot of cool stuff that's coming up. Then on to number 9, city manager's report. I see Greg is back, but before Greg starts, I just want to thank Ben for stepping in for doing the city manager's report. I think all of us up here appreciate all the time you put into it, and all the staff members that got to have a hand in it as well. It was nice to see you guys up there and talking to us, stuff like that. So thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. And all the staff members too. Thank you for all your effort you put into it. Now, without further ado,
I guess just
Greg is back.
picking up on those comments. Yes, Mr. President, I knew it was in good hands, and
Absolutely.
the chief already has more than a full-time job with his normal duties. So Ben, thank you so much. And we've got a great team.
Mhm.
You see that every day. I hope you see it every 2 weeks at our meetings and lots of activities in between. I'm back recovering well after heart surgery, and am super pleased to be back and super pleased to be back working with you and with the staff team. So thank you there. Would note with regard to, first off, with regard to staffing, Dave Buss didn't come tonight. It's one of the rare occasions he has not attended a council meeting as finance director, but his last day is on Friday of this week, the 21st. You've all met Cassie Pater, our new finance director, but we can force a video clip and an audio clip on Dave. Maybe a round of applause as well for our outgoing finance director who has served the city for 25 years, including the past 15 as finance director. A fine job done by Dave Buss. We're going to miss him, and really glad that he's had some time to spend with Cassie as our new director for some preliminary orientation there for the job. So to Dave Buss's service. What else have we got going on? Well, firefighter paramedic, there's one full-time vacancy due to a recent retirement. I believe interviews are underway there, Chief. So that's ongoing. Paid on-premise paramedic, they are scheduling interviews. We do supplement our full-time staffing with paid on-call and paid on-premise paramedics that can help during those peak demand times at the fire department. We have one full-time vacancy in the police department with an application deadline that was last Friday, the 14th. And so review of those applications is underway. I'm just getting the recruitment packet out, which means Amanda's saying, what does he mean? I haven't seen it yet. Everything except some pretty pictures to put in it is in a Word doc on my computer. So that'll be going out this week with an application deadline in early July for that important staff position. And we're also recruiting for a library clerk part-time over at Leicester Public Library. So always something going on. Roosevelt Avenue continues to be our major street reconstruction project this summer. Update from Matt Heckenleibel there. Pavement removal is proceeded now from Lowell to 9th Street, and they're wrapping up sanitary, or have wrapped up sanitary laterals and water services between 10th and 12th Streets, and are working on the main line sanitary sewer mains and storm sewer in the areas identified. So as you know, it's pretty much a summer-long project over there, but it's going to really, that's really an overdue infrastructure investment. You had a fairly good discussion at the last meeting, fairly extensive, about policies going forward on lead lateral replacement, lead service lateral replacement. Matt did want to share, along with Andrew from our water utility, that notification letters were sent out on Friday, June 7, notifying affected residents in the areas west of Forest Avenue and what I guess I would call the near north side, those areas depicted on the map here. These are the areas where the city has recently awarded a contract for so-called scattered site replacement of lead services. We estimate there to be about 300 lead services in that area. So property owners in that area, those areas have received letters, and there will be follow-up appointments made. This, as you know from the discussions and at recent meetings, we are now into the area of mandatory replacement, not just when your street is getting replaced, because it'd probably be another 4 decades before we'd get all the lead out. But at this point, going section by section around town and trying our level best to maximize the amount of federal and state assistances that's available to take some of the sting out of it for the homeowner. Happy to say that with the program impacting these areas, we're using ARPA dollars to continue offering $2,500 grants as an offset against those private lateral replacements. So stay tuned there. Update on room tax revenues, the bottom line out of this chart. I'll mess it up by blowing it up, but if you look at year-to-date actual, January through April, now remember, April room taxes don't all get collected to the end of May, which is why we're just talking about April now, because we won't know May till the end of June. But we're pretty much on track with the last 2 years. At January through April, receipts of $61,886. That's about $900 lower than last year at this time, about $400 higher than 2022. But if you scan further up there, you can see, again, a very substantial increase, fourfold over what was collected in 2018 during that same period. So that's of interest. Also shared from the tourism office, shared some stats that came out in early May from the Wisconsin Department of Tourism during Tourism Week. The state broke all records in 2023 with tourism economic impact estimated at over $25 billion statewide, up 5.4% from the prior year. Economic impact in Manitowoc County estimated at $226 million, that up 4.2%. And we do get those reports pretty regularly about the good things that Two Rivers, ExploreTwoRivers.com is doing on the tourism front. We're getting close to time for the yarn bombing again in downtown Two Rivers. Had a chance actually to visit with Kathy Haley over at Crescent Woolen Mills last week in the context of a visit at Crescent. And she indicates they have a lot more yarn bombers lined up for this year, so there'll be an even more extended display. Working with the very capable crews from our electric utility, including the director shown there with zip tie and mouth. Helping
I
with
thought
the
maybe he was actually knitting it or something. don't know.
I think he might have cranked this one out. I'm not sure. But this is a great example of community involvement and people sharing their artwork with the community. Summer reading program at Leicester Public Library. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to share on that, Jeff, or pretty much what we have up here? Yeah, time to share.
Thank you. As always, we have a full lineup of activities for all ages at the library, particularly continuing our TR Treasure Quest, which we get people out into the community. Teams of people come in, get their teams put together, and go out in the community and solve conundrums in parks and certain businesses. So get your team together and come on over to the library and get going on that. Obviously, you did mention the Dramatic Play Center. There were over 30 kids in there on the first day. It was pretty amazing. It continues to be a little noisy, but that's okay. We don't mind. So check it out. Check it out online, leicesterlibrary.org, for all the activities for young and old alike.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
Again, the new play equipment is fully installed at Washington Park. It includes not only that very cool Blue Dragon, but the climbing apparatus shown to the right and all new picnic tables and site furnishings there. A lot of family reunions, class reunions, special class or church services through the summer at Washington Park. That was an upgrade funded through TID 8 with this year's budget. The Swim Smart system, alert displays, which are tied to the National Weather Service beach monitoring system. One at the intersection of Pierce and Zlotnick on the beach. Those first two are hardwired to power supply. Another at the beach next to the North Pier Coast Guard Station, which sports the solar panel that you see there in the center photo. $30,000 in funding for the system was provided by the city's room tax commission out of room tax dollars in recognition of Neshota Beach's role as a primary visitor attraction in Two Rivers. And yes, indeed, two of those digital displays were not working yesterday. I was down there at 10 o'clock because I just wanted to see them red because the lake was rough. And the only thing that lit up was Facebook on it yesterday. And I can tell you that the Swim Smart vendor was here in town late this afternoon. I just got a message from Mike Mathis before the meeting indicating that it's something about SIM cards with the cell phones, which confuses me a little because the solar powered display was working okay, but the vendors on it, obviously we want to see the system working as promoted. About all I can say is often when you implement new technology, there's glitches, and we'll keep you updated on that. But still, very nice investment through the Room Tax Commission, putting real-time information when they light up in front of the public. City engineer gave a little update here on the Sandy Bay Highlands subdivision. We budgeted for phase 3 infrastructure this year. I think we're all a little frustrated that that contract hasn't been let and the dirt isn't flying yet up there. But we have seen some obstacles and delays, some related to DNR permitting for relatively minimal, I would say, wetlands filling that was approved over 20 years ago when we first got the permit for the project. That appears to have been resolved. There were some staffing changes at McMahon that delayed their final stormwater designs, but Matt tells me those are in good order and they were to be submitted by last Friday for DNR final permitting. Engineering is wrapping up the utility and roadway design and getting ready to submit the public utility plans in stuff in the right of way for DNR approval. This is separate from the wetlands and storm water issues. So usually those DNR infrastructure plan approvals are pretty straightforward. The plan now is to advertise for bids June 26th and July 3rd, open bids July 10, get those bids back in front of City Council on July 15 for award. And with a little luck and a tailwind, we'll be ready for construction the 1st of September. However, the beautiful home that Jim Reef Builders is building for a client right at Lake Breeze and Orchard is in the county parade of homes in September 12th to the 14th. So we, depending on how things work out with the contractor, we may look at starting construction September 16 because it would impact that site. And we still have a goal of having utilities under the streets and a graveled surface by Thanksgiving so people can be driving around and scoping out where they might like to build their house. So that's the update there. I know engineering's been working hard on it. We've all been frustrated. We're about 2 months past where we wanted to be. on
Craig,
this.
I got a question for
Yes,
What's the approximate cost of per lot?
that's a very good question. I would dare say we're going to be in the $60,000 to $70,000 range for this phase, substantially more than the earlier phases. We'll see where the bids come in, and we may need a real heart-to-heart on to what extent is the council willing to underwrite lot prices, assuming something gets built and paying taxes within a reasonable time. But just construction costs are crazy all around, and they're going to have to be substantially more expensive. But that's unless there's a few lots around that people are still buying out of inventory. But I'm told that's the norm out in the real world. It's gotten a lot pricier. Incredible statistics, Brian. I don't know if you wanted to share anything on this. These are numbers out of the electronic waste recycling that was offered at the down at the electric utility last week. I know there was some help with other city volunteers, including our city clerk, who was kind of amazed at all that went through there in a day. Brian.
Yes, we had a fantastic turnout last Tuesday. As you can see in the spreadsheet, just imagine 605 pounds of AA, AAA, and 9-volt batteries. But yeah, people came in and unbelievable. Over 3,000 light bulbs that were turned in. Not to mention the behemoth TVs that we unload from people's vehicles. But yes, we had a fantastic turnout. Really appreciate the residents coming and dropping that off and being responsible for recycling.
Those basements and spare bedrooms and being disposed of and recycled properly. Great service. Thank you. Thank you to the utilities. We just remind people the Two Rivers Community Band plays rock and roll this Thursday, June 20, 6:30 p.m. in Central Park West on the Schmidt Brothers stage. We've got the regular Thursday night concerts. We've got the new Friday night live concerts, which this week features the Acme Pickers. You hear them at a lot of the wineries around the area. They're popular in Northeast Wisconsin. And again, we'd really like to thank Nicolay Bank, Cobblestone Hotel and Suites of Two Rivers, the Two Rivers Business Association, and Two Rivers Main Street for stepping up with sponsorship for these additional sponsorships. You build a beautiful park like that, you got to program it. And I've got to point out to all the little kids playing in the splash pad. And at a point, we'll be able to tell you what the water bill is for that too, because we have it in separate meters. Now, what I can't measure is the amount of joy out of all those little kids that I see out there, but it's a big number, I can tell you that. So Acme Pickers this Friday night, Central Park, Thursday night, Municipal Band, Central Park. Coffee with the Cop continues, great outreach to the community, opportunity to sit down and talk about community safety issues and other things with Chief Miner and the rest of his team. These are some of the recent dates. Last week, today was at Cool City Brewing Company. If you missed that, or if you didn't miss that, the next one is next Monday, June 24th at the High Lift Coffee Shop. Will these continue during the summer, Chief, or do you take a little hiatus till fall? There'll be a summer schedule coming out as well. Appreciate that. Many activities, as was noted, under the auspices of the Parks and Rec Department, with support, in this case, from the Two Rivers Optimist Club and the Two Rivers Police Department. What I'm talking about here is the Bike Rodeo next week, Tuesday, June 25th, 6 p.m. at Washington Park. Kids can bring their bikes and helmets for a safety check, take part in going through an obstacle course. There'll be games, prizes, and music. If you're under 12, you're one of the first 200, you get a free hot dog and water. And hey, if you're over 12, most of you are, I think, you can buy them for $1. So that's, again, thank you, Parks and Rec Optimists and the TR Police Department. Next week, Thursday, the 27th, is Sunday Thursday. Again, celebrating Two Rivers' claim to fame as birthplace of the ice cream sundae, Ed Berner's 1881. Featuring children's entertainment, 25-cent sundaes, all you can eat. An ice cream eating contest. I think that's just for the kids. So guys, Two Rivers Community Band concert to cap off the evening. Again, thank you. None of these things possible. In this case, VT Industries, Eggers Division here in Two Rivers, and the Rotary Club of Two Rivers. Sunday, Thursday. Sunday, Thursday leads you right into Cool City Classic Car Cruise on Friday night, and the Cool City Classic Car Show on Saturday. So that's the 28th and 29th downtown. Again, the usual route from UW Green Bay's Manitowoc campus up the beautiful lakeshore along Memorial Drive. Cars arrive downtown. There's food trucks, beverages, Conscious Pilot performing on stage over at Central Park West. Saturday, car show all day, open to the public 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Food trucks, beverage stand. Again, get out and enjoy it. This is the 24th annual, nearly a quarter century of Cool City Classic Car Show. Brings a lot of folks down.
Greg, I'd like to mention too
Yeah.
that Main Street is still looking for volunteers
Very
to
good
work
point.
this, so,
I think that was in Jason's newsletter today, right?
Yeah.
That came out. So
Yeah.
volunteers very much appreciated. Beach Bash, Two Rivers Youth Sports, same weekend, the 28th to the 29th at Neshota Park, live bands, carnival rides set up on the beach parking lots, various tournaments, magic show. You see there the lineup for Friday and Saturday, including a Bon Jovi tribute, an Elvis show, because Elvis got rained out in the park over here just a couple weeks ago. Miranda Lambert and Jason Aldean tributes, and then the always popular road trip from 8 to 11:30 p.m. on Saturday, sponsored by Vinton Construction. Beach Bash for the benefit of youth sports activities in the area. A reminder from Washington House that they can always use volunteers. They are open for extended hours this year, keeping the ice cream parlor open into the evening hours on a trial basis with a one-time grant from the Room Tax Commission to encourage those evening hours. Because, you know, if you want ice cream after dinner, you can't get down there at 6 o'clock in the summer. You need, and they're featuring their Ruby Sundae with rhubarb topping. I'm not eating it, but I hear it's good. With that, we just take a look at some of the flowers on one of the gardens along Mariners Trail. And I forgot it at the front end, but I'd be remiss if I didn't also point out this is the last regular council meeting for our city attorney, Jack Bruce. Jack has served as the city's legal counsel for 26 years. Oh, goodness. 28 years, yes. Came on board in January of 96, I believe, when John Webster left the firm that Jack was working with to take over leadership at Crescent Woolen Mills. Jack, heartfelt thanks. You have provided reliable and trusted counsel throughout that period of time. And we're going to miss you and really appreciate all your contributions to the city. Again, folks, round of applause for our city attorney. We will be continuing to work with Weston Dunn for providing legal counsel to the city. They have two very experienced municipal attorneys on the staff out of their home office. Help me out, Jack, in Wanakee.
Yes.
Yes. So we may have to get used to our general counsel joining us via Zoom. We'll try to do that without the speaker system screaming at you and with the ability to actually hear the person. So that'll be a little bit of an experiment. But one of their two attorneys with significant municipal practice also served for several years as a city planner in a city in Iowa. So I think as we look at things like reviewing our sign ordinance, which may be something that comes up through Main Street on a program that the state is offering, or looking at addressing a zoning code that's admittedly dated in many areas and has a few blowout patches on it where we've attempted to amend and update it. I think that could put us in a good position to take on a project with reviewing those. So change doesn't come easy, but we'll see how that goes. And Jack's services as needed will, well, as reasonable, he can always say no, will remain available to us through the balance of this year based on my discussions with Weston Dunn. And that's important because we have things like development agreements that I hope we're going to ink shortly, and other things where Jack has been integral to their involvement. And I don't really want to sit through training another attorney on those if we have someone that's familiar with some of those documents. So again, thank you, Attorney Bruce. Also, Chief Minor, the police department did get an update out today, not really any kind of new news on the Elijah Vu ongoing investigation and search, but necessitated by some social media things. Chief, you want to speak to that briefly? I know I told you I'd do this at the front end of my report, but I forgot.
Yes, so we did put out a press release. I had every intention on putting out a press release this week anyway. If it got to the point where we went 4 months without finding Elijah, again, I always try to remain optimistic, and I just didn't want to jump the shark there. I was praying that we would find him, but now that it is nearing 4 months, the other thing that kind of expedited it was unfortunately over a weekend where everybody should have been celebrating Father's Day, like myself. Instead, I was dispelling rumors that Elijah's poor family had received over the weekend through social media and also messages sent to them that Elijah was found, and somehow it was some sort of conspiracy that we were hiding from them. That's not the case. So I wanted to address that immediately upon business hours today. So we worked relentlessly to try to get something out to the public to dispel those rumors and then just bring everybody up to date. So everybody's aware we do continue our searches, variety of searches. Already, even with putting this news release out, people are making up their own narratives. I can only do so much. Already people are making assumptions that we're expanding and doing all these different things. That's not the case. I wish people wouldn't read into it. I'm trying to do my best to keep transparent and keep everybody up to date. The most important to me is bringing Elijah home, finding him. Number 2, the family. And 3, the transparency to the community. And I'm going to continue to do that regardless of what we're dealing with on social media. But I will address it when necessary. And this was one of those times. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. And council, that concludes my report. Mark, I did just email you an informational piece on fences that includes both the ordinance and some diagrams that you can share with your constituent.
Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Onto the consent agenda. Under A, we have presentation of minutes from the city council meeting from June 3rd, 2024. Recommended action will be a motion to waive reading and adopt the minutes. Under B, we have minutes of meetings. We have the Western Public Library from May 14th, Public Utilities Committee June 3rd, Plan Commission June 10th, and Board of Review on May 30th. Recommended action will be a motion to receive and file. Under C, we have department reports for May of 2024. There are 8. Recommended action will be a motion to receive and file. Under D, we have a summary of verified bills for the month of May 2024 for $2,134,551.84. The recommended action will be a motion to receive and file. We also have applications and petitions under E. Applications for commercial hauler's license recommended for approval. We have Pesorski Hauling and Recycling LLC of 2515 Via Bond Street in Manitowoc. We have Waste Management of 1861 Aloes Avenue East in Green Bay. Manitowoc Disposal Incorporated on 1800 Johnson Drive in Manitowoc. And JFL Environmental Midwest of 428 High Street in Chilton. The recommended action will be a motion to approve the applications and authorize insurance of the licenses. Under F, we have renewal license applications for a period of July 1st, 2024 to June 30th of 2025. We have 4 of the combination Class A beer, Class A liquor licenses. We have 8 for the combination Class B beer, Class B liquor licenses. We have 2 for beer garden permits. We have 3 cigarette and tobacco retail products licenses. And we have 3 landscaping and tree removal licenses. The recommended action will be a motion to approve the application and authorize issuance of the licenses as provided for in the list submitted by the city clerk and upon satisfactory inspection. Under G, we have recommendation from the Plan Commission meeting of June 10th, 2024 to set a public hearing regarding a conditional use permit for a tattoo parlor at 2004-2006 14th Street, submitted by Dale Esinger, owner, and Adam Calderon, tenant. The recommended action will be a motion to set public hearing on July 15th, 2024 at 6:00 PM. And finally, H, review of park rule implemented by Parks and Recreation Director per section 7-1-12 of city ordinance, prohibition of dogs and bikes on new Neshota Park playground. The recommended action will be a motion to approve park rule as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Director. The recommended action for the consent agenda is a motion to approve the consent agenda with the various actions recommended. Do I have a motion for that? Thank you, Bonnie.
Motion to approve.
We already got Bonnie. You'll second it. Thank you, Mark. Any discussion?
My mic off there. I forgot about this when, communication from the public. If you have a state license to be a bartender, do you need to get one from Two Rivers also?
There is not state licenses.
There are not, they
Nope.
don't exist,
Nope,
okay.
they're per municipality.
All right. And I'd also like, this is not related to that, to make the comment, because I keep my eye on the water stuff. The EPA is discussing, and if I'm incorrect, Andrew, please correct me, getting rid of all lead laterals in 10 years. That's a huge expense for people. So I'm only mentioning it so people can keep it in their back of their head. And in case they have to prepare for a big expense like that.
Here comes Andrew.
He's come.
Water Director's heading up to the mic now. Play by play.
I just want to point out on Bonnie's comment that that is in Congress. It hasn't been voted on yet,
Right.
but more than likely, that's the path we're going.
Right, could you remind us what the Board of Review does, the purpose of that committee?
Board of Review considers appeals as to the assessed valuations established for properties. In a typical year, that's fairly light duty because it's only for maybe a couple hundred properties that get notices of assessment changes. As you know, with the current market adjustment revaluation that's going on, there'll be many properties impacted with changes in assessment. And again, following the opportunity to discuss with the city assessor at Open Book, there is the opportunity to come before Board of Review as an appellate board to consider appeals on assessments. That's sort of the 101 description of Board of Review.
Okay, Mark?
Thank you.
Okay. And any other discussion?
I was just going to point out on a couple of things here. I know council members have heard some concerns regarding licensure questions on the tattoo parlor that's the subject of the upcoming hearing on a conditional use permit. Legitimate questions, however, all we're doing tonight is setting the hearing, and this is a zoning matter. The city doesn't do licensing. That's a county health department thing. But I expect we will address the need for valid licensure of any operators operating at that business location. And the other thing I expect you recall, but this item H, there was a recent ordinance amendment approved by City Council where the Parks and Rec Director could make, I guess what I'd call these minor regulatory, take these minor regulatory actions in the park so they could be turned around quickly, but with the ability of City Council to either affirm them, veto them, if you will, or modify them. So this is the first of these to come to council. And I think generally, the intent is this would be a consent agenda item. You can always pull it off the consent agenda if the council wants to engage in further discussion. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, this will be an all in favor. So all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all for that. On to 11, City Council formal items. Under A, we have authorization for a facade grant agreement to provide $10,000 grant to Richard and Joanne Kuba to assist with up to 50% of the cost of a facade project on the building at 1606 Washington Street. Grant to be funded half by Two Rivers Main Street and half from City of Two Rivers TID number 13, which will be $5,000 each. The recommended action will be a motion to authorize the grant as recommended by the Main Street Design Committee, consistent with program guidelines previously adopted by the City Council. Agreement to be drafted by City Manager's Office, signed by City Manager and City Clerk. Greg.
Yes, council will recall there was a resolution earlier this year about the city's, it wasn't a resolution, you approved a staff report with, on the criteria for these grants. Facade grants need to be matched at least dollar for dollar by the property owner. So this isn't a free ride. At most, they're getting 50% of the cost of facade renovation. Main Street has a limited pot of money for grants within the Main Street district or the bid district, $10,000 this year. They've already committed $5 toward the, I'll call it grant number 1 for the hook, ladder, and lanes, or the hook, I'm sorry, lanes and games. Hook and ladder, it sounds like fire. Lanes and games. The Main Street Design Committee is recommending or is committing the other $5,000 that Main Street has budgeted for within the district to this grant, to the Kubas. This is the building that includes the chop shop, asphalt sided building on the west side of Washington Street. Richard and Joanne Kuba, as owners, presented 2 estimates that they've got for re-siding the building and wrapping the windows, doing something with the area above the display windows and doors on the front. I would note their quotes are $24,480 and $24,980. So they are estimating they'll be spending close to $15,000. The max grant here, hi Adam, no, didn't see you come in, is the max grant is $10,000. So it's proposed Main Street would provide 5. The city would provide 5,000. That would be from TID number 13, which has $50,000 budgeted this year for facade and sign grants. And you have a color rendering of, which is dated. It was done by the state Main Street design architect in April of 2004, 2 decades ago. But the basic design intent is shown there, except they do not plan to do a fabric awning above the plate glass windows. They will either be doing signboards like we're done on Kuba's building that houses Weichert Real Estate, where they did a beautiful job on the other side of the street, or there has been some discussion of reestablishing some decorative windows up above in that zone above the plate glass windows and the entry door. The siding would be colored similar to what is shown here, and likewise the trim. So their proposal has been reviewed and recommended for approval by the Main Street Design Committee, which has delegated that responsibility. Darla can speak to it as well as chair of that committee.
Yeah, I just want everybody to realize that the building has both national and state historic designations, and our design committee supports improvements that will enhance the appearance of a historically significant building. And we had recommended the use of LP Smart Side over just regular vinyl siding. They said that that's what they plan on doing, is to use the textured LP. And also, as far as the windows go, it'll be interesting when they start uncovering what's underneath, because there might be some of those, they call them clerestory or clerestory windows.
Yeah.
Clerestory?
Clear story.
That's not how it's spelled. I'll go with you guys.
I take a pill for my cholesterol. Oh no, clear story.
But anyway, so, you know, they're going to restore what's possible, you know,
Spider, I'm sorry.
save what they can to, you know, to retain its original look.
And I'd say they're actively engaging with design committee
yeah.
members. Yeah. So with that, from staff standpoint and the Main Street Design Committee, we'd recommend authorization for this grant. 5,000 city funding.
Looking then for a motion to authorize the grant.
I'd authorize the motion.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Second by Darla. Any discussion?
Scott, I'd like to add one point, and Greg's mentioned before, but to the community, this is not your taxpayer dollars. This is funding outside of what we pay as homeowners for taxes that enhances the beauty of our city and our overall economic success and prosperity.
Thank you, Mark. Any other discussion? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Bonnie Shimalutis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky. Aye. Darla Leclerc. Aye. Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you. On to B, authorization for additional facade grant to provide up to $20,000 to TA Properties LLC, which is for Tim Klein, the Hook Lanes and Games, to assist with up to 50% of the cost of a facade project on the building at 1906 Washington Street. Additional grant to be funded entirely from City of Trivers TID number 13. This is in addition to a previously approved facade grant from this property in the amount of $10,000, funded half by Trivers Main Street and half from City of Trivers TID 13. The recommended action will be a motion to authorize the grant as recommended by the Main Street Design Committee, consistent with program guidelines previously adopted by the City Council, but exceeding the normal grant amount due to the size of the facade and extensive nature of the work involved. Agreement to be drafted by City Manager's Office, signed by City Manager and City Clerk. Greg?
Yes, and this matter starts at page 109 of your packets. For background, in 2023, Mr. Klein had presented an application to the Main Street Design Committee that was approved. It was significantly different than what you see in front of you now. He had an overhang to be constructed across the entire facade of the building with LED lighting underneath it. Tim, he's taken on quite a project there and has, consistent with the first grant, done some of the work, and he submitted documentation showing $21,350 spent on the first phase. Subject to review and approval by Main Street, that'd be his first $10,000 grant. He has a ways to go. City Council, those of you that were on the council last fall will recall we did have a discussion about possible additional funding assistance for this project, given the extent of the facade work needed and given the size of the facade for the business. Mr. Klein came back to the Main Street Design Committee week before last, I believe it was, described and had some sketches for his modified plans with changes that included, instead of a big overhang across the front, doing corrugated metal awnings over each of the window openings on the front, changing up the signage, doing a few other things. With assistance from Michael Dittmer of the Main Street Design Committee, came up with this rendering, which is in your packets. It also would feature the Louisiana Pacific Smart siding, it's sort of a particle board backing, but with a very tough face that has the look of wood siding. This would be 18-inch lap siding. There would be masonry around a front window. This is a new feature as well from the earlier facade plan. That window with the masonry work shown around it is actually described as a half garage door, 4 feet tall. So in the summertime, it could be opened. There would be an air curtain, which I understand is a health department requirement. Also good if you don't want to be air conditioning all of, downtown Two Rivers. He has shown some interest in being able to put seating outside so you could have a countertop there that had seating both inside and outside. I believe that's permitted. We'll look a little more closely at our provisions on sidewalk cafes and serving on the sidewalk. I know you see those in downtown Sheboygan and other places now. This still reflects, as the design committee wanted to see originally, keeping the glass block on either side of what was the Washington Street entrance to what used to be Rudy's Lanes. In lieu of an entrance there will be some signage. There's also a sign like a bowling ball, which I understand either has been or will be fabricated by the high school Raider manufacturing classes. So I think the committee was fairly impressed, especially with the final rendering. Based on the numbers Mr. Klein submitted, I talked about what he's already spent. He identifies $47,600 in additional expenses. The proposal is that the city would fund an additional 20,000, so he'd be more than matching that if he comes up to the 47,000. And again, like all of these grants, it would be on a reimbursement basis after completion of the project and completion of the project in accord with the plans as shown. Darla?
I just wanted to, it doesn't show it on this rendering, but on the north side, you might have seen where he's installed a garage door that will lead out into a outdoor seating area, which is now the parking lot.
Yep.
So that's going to be very, very nice. It's going to be like a little beer garden out there. That too is going to have an air curtain. And then where the old garage is, he does plan on tearing that down and using that portion of the property for outdoor entertainment perhaps. So, I mean, he's really got some great ideas and, you know, I would love to see him stay with this plan because it really does look nice. And if it's going to change, he's got to let us know.
And this does exceed the general parameters for the program. That's why we floated the question with, I'll say with the old council last fall. But he also has, once he took off the siding, there ain't much facade left there. And I think we've seen he's invested in a new roof. He's invested in the property. This is a request that the city go the extra mile on this one. And this is not something we can do on every facade. But how many communities still have a downtown bowling alley that's the center of activity? So with that, that's the recommendation from the Main Street Committee and from staff.
Okay. Looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second by Bill. Any discussions?
It looks like a great design. It'll be a major improvement in the heart of our downtown. And we're fortunate we've got money still available in the TID fund to fund it. But after this, there's no more money, right?
There would be in TID number 13. I'm sorry, I'm doing the math quick in my head. We would have committed 25,000 total to this project, the city, out of TID 13, and $5,000 for the Cuba project that was just approved. So that would leave 20,000 out of TID 13. TID 8, the old high school TID, that budget this year has $30,000, and that money has to be committed by August because we're at the tail end of that TIF district. That has funded so far the Meridian Wellness Grant for $10,000. So there's 20 left there. And then there's another 20 in the city's economic development budget in the event there are projects that can't, because of location or because we're out of money in the TIFs, can't be assisted by the TIFs. We haven't touched that one yet. I can tell you I've had dialogue from a business owner on a property over on Jackson Street that would fall within the half-mile radius of TID. Dang. I believe TID number 8, we could make that one work still. So we may see an application forthcoming there. And there have been discussions with a couple of businesses about sign grants. The city also participates in sign grants, but those are a maximum grant of $500. For example, the quilt shop will be relocating downtown behind Subway. So there's been an offer there of a sign grant.
I have a question. It says provide up to $20,000. Is that the actual number, or how will the actual number be determined?
I think the general intent when I listed it that way is assuming the project gets done and the applicant shows us that he's spent at least 40 in this new work. If somehow he's able to get it done, but get it done cheaper, then the city funded grant can't exceed 50% of the total cost.
And you're saying the deadline is in August?
This, we have to have committed the funds, contractually committed by August.
What would be the completion requirement?
I know, I don't know that we've nailed it down. It certainly would be this calendar year, I would expect. I will put a letter of award together to send out to Mr. Klein for signature. But the key thing on the TIF is that the dollars have to be committed or encumbered by a magic date. And then actually we have 5 years, say if we made a commitment that we were going to fund over time. But this one I fully anticipate would be this year. I think we want to insist that it's this year.
Obviously.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, that was the intent there, up to 20,000, because even though we think he'll be spending up to 47,000, the city expense wouldn't be more than half of the documented cost. The other thing on this one, the original grant did not restrict Mr. Klein's ability to bill for his own services. He is a contractor. This more recent grant discussion, any of his own expenses are excluded. So they were included on the $10,000 grant approved by Main Street, blessed by council. But on this one, we said, no, it has to be outside contracted services or materials.
Okay, anything else? Okay, see nothing. This will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc, Mark Bittner,
Great addition, aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt,
Aye.
Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
all in favor.
Thank you for that. On to C, ordinance to amend section 5-1-5A entitled Compulsory Sewer and Water Connection in the Municipal Code. The recommended action will be a motion to waive reading and adopt the ordinance.
Andrew is here and can offer commentary. I would emphasize this is intended to clarify existing ordinance language, not necessarily modify it. There are, and Jack can supplement me here, but there are some interpretations out there in the public record that human habitation doesn't just mean humans live at a location, but would extend to humans occupying it for work or other activities. However, staff's recommendation is this language, which would clarify things a bit further, habitation or occupancy.
And that's correct. There have been some who have claimed human habitation refers to a dwelling. And this does clarify, for example, that places of business would be required to hook up to sewer and water mains if they're available. And this was how the Attorney General's office interpreted the underlying statute here regarding the proper meaning of human habitation to include places of business and not to be limited to actual dwelling units. So I think it's a clarification of a sanctioned interpretation of the statute.
You want to add anything, Andrew, or pretty good? Okay. Gotcha. So then we're looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second by,
I'll second it.
I saw Tim's hand up first. Any discussion? Seeing nothing, this will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Adam Mahusky,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc, Mark Bittner, Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt, Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunas,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
all in favor.
Thank you for that. On to D, resolution of intent to apply for 2025 Wisconsin Clean Water Fund and Safe Drinking Water Fund loan monies to assist with public utility infrastructure projects and lead water service lateral replacement. The recommended action will be a motion to waive reading and adopt the resolution. Greg?
This is a preliminary action related, I guess, as it says, to financing activity for the 2025 construction season and actual construction activity for 2025. It addresses the city's intent to borrow money from the state's environmental loan program, either the Safe Drinking Water Fund and the Clean Water Fund. Clean water's on the sewer side. And this would be for both our planned street projects, Harbor Street, 16th, and Emmett on the city's east side, which is at least the planned major street project for next year, as well as we addressed earlier tonight, scattered site lead service replacement, lead water service replacement around town. This declares the city's intent. It also means if there are any miscellaneous expenditures of funds in advance of the borrowing that the city would be eligible to reimburse itself from proceeds of borrowing. We're not planning to go out and contract for this work until the borrowing is done or locked in, but it does cover any preliminary expenses incurred as well.
Looking for a motion to waive reading, and adopt the resolution. Thank you, Bill. Second by Tim. Any discussion? See,
Is it appropriate maybe to share with the community that what we discussed earlier about the county special funding available to, and our request to use that to cover some of our pavement costs of city instead of the developer?
I believe it was brought up at a previous meeting that the county had indicated they would not match the city's costs for street restoration, where we put in scattered site lead lateral replacements. I guess it's fair to say the county executive has a different interpretation of the federal program rules than we do. We certainly could revisit that issue. I think Mr. Bittner may have had a brief discussion on that topic with a county representative. We certainly can pursue that if that was what you're talking about, Mark.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Perhaps it saves about $169,000.
That's right, and we had to reimburse those street restoration costs from other funds instead of the county match. Yep. So we can make that formal request if we want to really maximize our benefit from the county. Anything additional on that, Andrew? Yeah. We can ask. We can ask.
yep, okay. Any other discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll do another roll call vote. Amanda?
Darla Leclerc,
Aye.
Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt, Tim Petrie, Bonnie Shimalunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Moheski. All in favor.
Thank you. And on to E, consent to assignment of option agreement for purchase of property at Woodland Industrial Park by Swift Energy Storage LLC to Hawk Energy Storage LLC. The recommended action will be a motion to grant the city's consent to the proposed transfer as requested by Swift Energy Storage LLC and Hawk Energy Storage LLC. Greg?
Yes, Swift Energy Storage LLC is the entity that since July of 2021 has held an option to purchase land at the Woodland Industrial Park for a battery energy storage facility. Earlier this year, when the council approved a conditional use permit with extensive conditions related to the placement of that battery energy storage facility, it was acknowledged that the ultimate developer would be an entity called Hawk Energy Storage LLC. In fact, the conditional use permit explicitly states that the permit isn't valid and the city will not begin review of plans until the rights to the property have been transferred to Hawk Energy Storage LLC. Also, as I've excerpted here in our staff memo, that July 2021 option agreement with Swift Energy Storage does provide that the developer may assign its rights under the option agreement with prior written consent of the owner, of course, being the city. Upon developer's assignment of its entire interest under this agreement, the developer shall be relieved of all further liability. So basically, the conditions that were set on recommendation of staff and the Plan Commission by this council following public hearing would all transfer to Hawk Energy Storage LLC. And that's consistent with what the discussion was back, I believe it was in February, when we had the meetings where this was approved, February or March.
Okay.
Yep, the city attorney looked at this agreement. As you can see, it's pretty simple and straightforward, and opined that it appeared to be in order.
Sounds good. Looking for that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Bonnie. Looking for a second by Darla. Any discussion? Okay, this will be a roll call vote. Amanda?
Mark Bittner,
Aye.
Shannon Derby,
Aye.
Bill Leclerc,
Aye.
Doug Brandt, Tim Petrie,
Aye.
Bonnie Shimalunis,
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister,
Aye.
Adam Mohusky,
Aye.
Darla Leclerc. All in favor.
Do you have number 12?
Yes, number 12 would just remind you that the regular monthly work session is next Monday, the 24th. The one item that I knew going into tonight we'd have on that agenda will be the report from the ad hoc committee on community aquatics. It's been looking at pool options. That group will report back to and engage in discussion with city council. That might also be a good time to talk about what Mr. Graham's brought up earlier tonight about regulation of dogs at Neshota Beach. Not looking to bring you an ordinance amendment to change anything, but just a recap of the regulations as we understand them at the beach. There might be a couple of other discussion items as well. Of course, we have regular council meetings in July on the 1st and the 15th. The work session would probably be on the 29th because July has 5 Mondays in it. We can talk about that as we get closer to that date, see if the 29th or the 22nd works better. And just remind you that per council authorization at the last regular meeting, we will be closed here at City Hall all day on the Independence Day holiday, July 4, and all day on Friday the 5th with our summer hours. That's normally a 4-hour day. And again, just a reminder, City Hall employees will have the option of using time from their paid time off, bank, vacation, or personal time, or taking it without pay. But in any event, we won't be open, and it probably would have been quiet here if we were. So that's what we have upcoming.
And still do need closed session for tonight?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Do not anticipate any action upon reconvening in open tonight other than to adjourn for the night.
I don't know if you did this before. With us, you did?
We got him already.
Oh, well then I'm going to give him a round of applause all by myself.
We'll do it again.
It was a pleasure working with you, Jack. It really was. So.
The same as to all of you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. Still remember you the day of the St. Nazianz tornado coming back from the state school district boundary appeals commission meeting. You remember that one? It was a major natural event that same day, but we prevailed there and brought a good chunk of the Woodland Industrial Park into the TR school district. So
Nice.
yeah,
Good job, Jack.
it was so much more fun though when he worked for the Savage Law Firm. 'Cause we
Oh,
said,
yeah.
watch out, we got our attorney, we call him Wolfman Jack, and he works for the Savage Firm.
That'll scare anyone.
I owe a lot to John Webster, my predecessor as city. I get involved in representing the city back in 1996, actually 1995 when he recommended it. And since then, it's been very challenging, sometimes frustrating, but very rewarding. And I've always been impressed by the devotion city council members and city manager and department heads and staff have had to this community. So it was a pleasure and a privilege to serve.
Nice work.
Thank you.
With that, we will go into closed session. The city council reserves the right to enter into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85(1)(e), deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Tonight, it will be discuss possible property acquisition. Looking for a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Thank you, Bill. Looking for a second. Thank you, Tim. This will be a roll call, or sorry, discussion. Always forget. Roll call vote. Amanda.
Shannon Derby.
Aye.
Bill Leclerc.
Aye.
Doug Brandt.
Aye.
Tim Petrie. Bonnie Shimalunas.
Aye.
Scott Steckmeister.
Aye.
Adam Mohusky.
Aye.
Darla Leclerc. Mark Bittner.
Aye.
All in favor.
Okay. Opposed.